Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome back for Expedition's Word of the Night tonight. I think you've all heard it. I think you passed it on the sign when you came into church tonight. I think it's 5 letters long, starts with an F, and Peter's going to demonstrate it with this chair. Now, you boys and girls, you probably just come in and you just sit down, right, Peter? Or do we check it? Do we check the chair? I don't know. Seems to, I don't know. Are you sure, Peter? Are you sure? I did promise Peter that I wouldn't pull it out. For all of you who thought I was that mean. Peter has faith that the chair is not going to break when Peter sits down. It's kind of the classic example of faith. Most of us don't think about it. We just have faith that the chair is going to be there when we sit down. Now, we've all seen the funny boy who pulled it out, and yes, girls do it too, but faith that the chair won't break. Here's Pastor Josh, boys and girls.
All right, our lesson tonight is on faith, as they just said. We could go through many events from the Bible discussing and describing faith. We could work our way through Hebrews chapter 11, which discusses and talks through what many people call the Hall of Faith, which is a listing, a category of all of these people who showed faith in the Old Testament. But we're going to look at one of those people tonight, just one. It would take us an eternity if we worked through each of them. So we're going to look at just one of them. With that, we're going to look at a lady from the Old Testament. Now, we're going to look at a time in history where God was working many miracles. It's the time in history where God is taking his people, the children of Israel, from slavery in Egypt and taking them to a free land, the promised land, what was going to one day be known as the nation of Israel. During that time period, you have a lot of famous people, probably the greatest or most well-known of all of Israelites' leaders. The first one, Moses. And Moses had an amazing ability to direct and control millions of people. Many of you know my favorite Bible character came after Moses, and that was Joshua. And this event that we're going to talk about this morning takes place during the life of Joshua. However, even though it takes place during the life of Joshua, my favorite Bible character, and is recorded in the book that bears his name, we're really not going to talk about Joshua today. We're going to talk about somebody else. A lot of times we think of people of faith, we think of people who are in the Bible, they're people of the nation of Israel. But the lady we're going to look at tonight isn't an Israelite. She was a Canaanite. She was not of the chosen people, but yet God still used her because she had faith. I bet you might already know who it is, but I'll hold on to her name for just a minute longer, though you probably are smart enough to have already guessed who it is. It's during a time when the nation of Israel has already left Egypt, and God has already performed the plagues on Egypt, and they've wandered now. They've gone through the Red Sea, and God parted the Red Sea, and they walked through on dry land. Then they wandered in the wilderness desert for 40 years because they disobeyed God, and they did not believe that God was capable of bringing them into the promised land. They have now finished their 40 years wandering, and they are now about to enter the promised land. The problem is they are now going to have to conquer the promised land. It's no longer going to be, let's just put on our sandals today and let's go walk around the desert. Now they have to go and fight. But the amazing thing is God is going to fight for them. So they're getting ready to cross over the Jordan River. They've already crossed the Red Sea, which is way bigger, but now they've got to cross the Jordan River. And as they look across the Jordan River, they see the first city that the nation of Israel is going to have to conquer. And that was the city of Jericho. Now, when I say the city of Jericho, there's probably a lot of things that pop into your mind. Probably the most important thing, the thing we remember the most about Jericho is its huge walls. Okay, they built walls all the way around their city for protection, for safety, to keep people out, to defend against anyone who would try to get in. When the nation of Israel was looking at the city of Jericho, they thought, how are we supposed to get in here? We can't just go knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Can we come in? It's not going to work that way. You don't defeat a city by just going and knocking on the wall and asking to come in. So how are they going to defeat this massive city? They don't have giant tools, and they don't have anything like planes like we have today to try to go in and destroy the city. So what are they going to do? Well, just like Joshua had earlier on in his life been a spy when the 12 spies went into Canaan, this time he picks 2. And these 2 men are sent to go into the city and try to go in and figure out and stay hidden so that way no one knows who they are and try to blend in with everyone else. And their job is to try to go into the city and find how to defeat Jericho. They go into the city and they're looking around, but the problem is they kind of stuck out. They didn't look like everybody else. So they started getting rumors going around like, hey, did you hear? There's Israelites in the city. And all of a sudden, everyone's starting to get nervous, and all of a sudden, they told the king, hey, king, there are 2 Israelite spies inside our city. So the king sends out his soldiers to find them, and they heard that these 2 spies had gone to a lady's house. I bet you know her name by now. Her name was Rahab. And they had gone, and people had seen these 2 spies enter into the house of Rahab. And so the king's soldiers, looking big and impressive as they possibly could, came and knocked on the door, boom, 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 and said, hey, where are the spies? And Rahab didn't tell the truth. She said, they're not here. She tried to cover up, and she said, they've already gone, they've already left. But what she had done is she'd actually taken them and hidden them upon her roof. She had some flax and some grain up there on top of the roof that she'd been drying out in the sun, and she hid them amongst that. So when the soldiers came, they couldn't see them. She went and told the soldiers, she's like, I think I saw them escape out the gate. If you go and chase them and try to get to them, maybe you'll find them. And so the soldiers were like, oh, we got to go get him. That's the last person who saw him. Let's go try to find him. And so they hurry and run away to try to go find the 2 spies because they don't want any messages getting from their city back to Joshua, the leader of the Israelites. So Rahab, once all the soldiers are gone, goes back up to the roof and finds the 2 spies and says, hey, you guys have got to get out of here. If you don't get out of here, they're going to come back and they're going to kill you. She looks at them, though, and says something very amazing. Remember, Rahab isn't an Israelite. She doesn't worship the God of the Israelites, the one true God. She is from the city of Jericho. She's a Canaanite. She worships false gods. But she looks at them and says, I've heard about your God. I've heard what your God has done. I know that your God is powerful. We've heard what your God did to the Egyptians with the plagues. We've heard that your God opened the Red Sea. We've heard that your God defeated the Amalekites. We've heard that your God has done all of these things, and we are terrified of your God. The people in Jericho were not afraid of the Israelite army. The people in Jericho were not afraid of anything else, but they were afraid because they knew how powerful God was. So the 2 Israelites are there and they're like, well, yeah, you're right. Our God is that powerful. And she looked at them and she said, would you remember the kindness that I've shown to you? When you guys come back and destroy our city, because I know that your God is more powerful than these walls surrounding our city, would you please promise me that you guys will protect my family and myself? Remember the kindness that I've protected your life. When you guys come back, would you protect mine? She then takes them to the edge of her house, which is right on the wall of the city, and she lets them out the side, and they go down a rope, and she says, hey, go in the mountains, hide there for 3 days, and once you're done hiding there, then go back. But remember your promise. And they looked at her and said, if you will leave when we come to attack, if you take that rope that you just let us down with and you dangle it out your window, whoever is in your house, their life will be spared. But if they leave, it's their fault. But if you can get your family in your house and don't tell anyone else that we came, your family will be protected. She had to have faith that God was going to keep his promise. Well, when the Israelites do come back and they march around the city and the walls fall down, the section of the wall where her house was stayed standing, and her family survived. Her faith is remembered in the fact that she is named in the Hebrews chapter 11, the Hall of Faith. And all she simply said is, I've heard of what your God can do, and I believe that he can do it again. You know what God also used her? She is mentioned in Matthew chapter 1 in the lineage of Jesus Christ. She got to be part of the line of the family of the Messiah. Why? Because she believed that God was powerful. We want to remember that as well. When we have faith, our faith is in the God who created everything. Our faith should not be in men, but in God. Our faith will cause us to obey what God has said. And remember this, living by faith pleases